Okay, so here we go. Polynomial long division works just like the example we did with regular long division. So if I'm asked to divide these two, the divisor goes outside the box. This is your divisor. And it went outside the box. The dividend goes inside the box, right there. Okay? Now, when you divide, you only have to look at the first term, okay, to start with. So I'm only looking at the 3x squared and the x. So in the margin, I write 3x squared over x, first term over first term, so that I can see what I'm going to get. The x squared over x makes x, and so I get 3x. So I'm dividing the first two terms. I'm going to put this 3x above its like term, so it goes right there. And then I have to multiply the 3x times both of these. So when I divide, I focus on the first term. That's just the one that matters. And then when I multiply both. So 3x times x is 3x squared. And 3x times 2 is 6x. I'm going to pause there for a second. So I did the first two steps. I divided, and then I multiplied. Make sure you're with me here. Now I'm going to subtract. When I subtract, I need to subtract both things. And so for some people, they can write it like this. They can see, yes, I'm subtracting both things, no problem. If you get tripped up on this, what you might want to do is distribute that minus to both things. So you can make that a plus, minus, minus. That's up to you, really. If it helps you to keep track of things to distribute your minus, go ahead and do that. So the first two terms should cancel out by design. These two terms you either are doing plus negative or you're minus. Either way, you get 2x. And then you bring down plus 5. And then we do first term divided by first term again. So in the margin, I'm doing 2x divided by x. 2x divided by x. The x's cancel, and I just get 2. It's a positive 2, so I'm going to write plus 2 up here. And then I'm going to multiply. So 2 times x plus 2. 2 times x plus 2. So that's 2x plus 4. I'm going to subtract. And again, it could help you to distribute that minus, so you can make that plus and then negative, negative, like that. First terms cancel, and that gets me 1. And that's my remainder. Yep.
Do you have to distribute the minus, or is it just...
So you have to distribute it, but you could distribute it in your head, like instead of writing it. Okay? All right. So then my answer is going to be 3x plus 2 plus the remainder over the divisor. Remainder over the divisor. All right, that is a lot to process. I want you to take a moment to see if you understand those steps. If you do understand the steps, you can try the problem below it. Work ahead on that one. If you have questions, start by asking your neighbors, and I'll walk around to answer questions. Okay. Check your answer. You guys ready? The divisor, that would be the x plus 2 times the quotient, which is all of this, plus the remainder should equal your dividend. So the divisor was x plus 2. And I'm going to multiply that times the quotient plus the remainder, which is this. So 3x plus 2 plus 1 over x plus 2. So I'm going to distribute. Oh, actually, no, it should be this. I see what happened there. I know what happened. It's fine. Just leave it like that. Okay. X plus 2 times 3x. I'm going to do it all at once. So this and this. That gets me 3x squared plus 6x. And then I'm going to do the 2. 2 times x plus 2 gives me 2x plus 4. And then the last part's actually the easy part. When I multiply x plus 2 times 1 over x plus 2, the x plus 2's cancel, and I just get 1. And then combining like terms, the 3x squared will come down. These two add to make 8x. And these two add to make 5. And it does give me back my dividend. I get that checking your answer is a little bit harder, and that's okay. We actually don't usually check them. It's just like if you're taking a test and you want to know, hey, did I get the right answer? Then you can check. There's not going to be any extraneous solutions in this kind of problem, so not checking won't hurt you, as long as you do all your steps right. All right, I'm going to move it up and set up the next problem. Some of you have already started, which I appreciate. So we're going to put the x squared plus 3x outside. And then on the inside, we have 5x to the 4 plus 14x to the 3 plus 9x. Okay. So in the margin, we do first term divided by first term. So we do 5x to the 4 over x squared. When we divide, what do we do with the exponents? Subtract them. Thanks, Lesman. So that's going to give me 5x squared. I put it above its like term. Oh, I don't have a like term. Actually, you know what I forgot? Here, there's no x squared. You need to fill that in with a 0. So really, this should be plus 0 and then plus 9x. Because when you're dividing, you like need a space for everything. And I didn't have a space to put my 5x squared. You see what I just did? So think about standard form, right? Standard form would be x to the 4, x to the 3, x to the 2, x to the 1, and then x to the 0, which is just a constant term. I could also put in a 0 for my constant term here at the end. If you didn't, it's okay, because it's at the end. It's not a big deal. But you see how I was like missing terms? Fill them in with zeros so you have those places. All right, so now I have a place for my 5x squared. It goes here, because I was just missing that. And now I'm going to multiply. So 5x squared times x to the 2 is going to be 5x to the 4. And 5x squared times 3x is 15x to the what? Does only one person know? 15x to the what? It is 3, because you add the 1 and the 2. So 15x to the 3. All right, so remember I said you can distribute your minus? So I can make it minus here and minus here. Your first terms should always cancel by design. If you have first terms not canceling, then you just made a little mistake there. 14 minus 15 is negative 1 x to the 3, and I'm going to bring down my plus 0. Okay. Next, I need to do negative 1x to the 3 divided by x squared. X to the 3 over x to the 2 gives you x to the what? Just x, yeah. So I have negative 1x. And I'll put that above its like term. Negative 1x. And then I'm going to multiply negative 1x times each of these. So negative 1x times x squared is negative 1x to the 3. And then negative 1x times 3x is negative 3x squared. So I need to subtract, and here's where it's going to become very useful to just change the signs of both things, because otherwise you'd be doing minus minus, which is kind of messy. These will cancel. 0 plus 3x squared is 3x squared. And then bring down your 9x. Okay. 3x squared divided by x squared gives you 3. So plus 3. Multiply these out. When I multiply them, I get 3x squared plus 9x. What does that mean about my remainder? Yeah, you got a remainder of 0, so it divided evenly. So this is just your answer. You don't have any remainder. So my answer is 5x squared minus 1x plus 3. And that's it.
What side?
Okay. Notice I put a 0 here because we were missing which term? We're missing the x squared term, right? So we had x to the 3, we had x to the 1, but we were missing x squared, so I filled that in with a 0. And now I'm going to start by doing first term divided by the first term. So I have x to the 3, and I'm dividing it by x to the 1, and I get x to the 2. And I put that over its like term. I don't have a like term, but that's where it would go. And then I have to distribute it times each of these terms. So x squared times x is x to the 3. And x squared times negative 2 is negative 2x squared. All right, everybody, so far we're good? All right, then we need to subtract. When I subtract, that's when I put parentheses to show I'm subtracting both parts. And then it's good practice to distribute that minus, so that becomes a negative x to the 3. And then a positive 2x squared. Your first terms should always cancel. And then here, 0 plus 2x squared is 2x squared. All right, then, what do I bring down? The negative 7x, yes. That's the next thing. Okay, so if you didn't bring down your negative 7x, do it now. And then you divide first term by first term. So 2x squared divided by what? X is right, this x right here. So you're going to keep the 2. You're going to subtract your exponents and get 2x to the 1. And since it's positive, put a plus in front. So I noticed a couple of you don't have any plus or minus there. Look at your paper and make sure you have a plus in front. And then we multiply. 2x times x, 2x squared. And 2x times negative 2 is negative 4x. And then we're going to subtract. So to subtract it, put parentheses. And then distribute your subtraction. First term should cancel. And the second term's negative 7x plus 4x is negative 3x. Then what do we bring down?
Negative 4.
Good stuff. Bring down the negative 4. Then we divide. Divide first term by first term. See if you can write that in your margin before I tell you. First term divided by first term. Okay. Negative 3x divided by x. The x's cancel, and you get negative 3. So that goes up here above its like term. And then we have to multiply. What am I going to multiply the negative 3 times? Who knows? What do you multiply the negative 3 times? The 1 what? 1x, right? And then minus 2. All right. So, negative 3 times 1x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 2 is plus 6. All right, then remember to change your minus to distribute it, so it becomes plus here and minus here. And then I'm combining negative 4 and negative 6. What do I get there? Negative 10. That's just an adding problem. No worries.
This one.
Yeah.
For negative 2x squared plus 4x,
Mhm.
why are we doing plus 4x and not minus 4x?
So it was originally it was 2x squared minus 4x. And then when I subtracted, I distributed it. So the 2x became negative and the negative 4x became positive.
Okay.
What other questions do we have? We're not quite done because we didn't write our final answer down. All right, so to write our final answer, we're going to take all of this, x squared plus 2x minus 3. And then normally I would write plus this over the divisor, but plus negative is the same as minus, right? So I'm going to make it minus 10 over, and then my divisor, x minus 2. If you wrote plus negative 10 over x minus 2, that's equivalent. That's fine. That's my final answer. All right, guys, I am expecting as we go through these that at first they're really hard to get started on, and then you get better at starting and you just like get tripped up on 1 or 2 steps along the way. Okay? We're going to start the next one. What is this number 4? What is it missing? Which term? It is missing the x term, right? It has x to the 3, x to the 2, but it's missing x to the 1. So when you set it up, you're going to put a 0 in your x to the 1 spot. First term divided by first term. So you had 2x to the 3 over x. That gets you 2x squared. And it goes up here. 2x squared. Next, multiply the 2x squared times each of these. So 2x squared times x is 2x to the 3. 2x squared times 4 is 8x squared. Now we subtract. And I'm going to distribute the minus. So I have negative here, negative here. That gets me negative 5x squared. And bring down the 0.
Miss Burrell,
Yes.
where did you get the 8 from?
I did 2x squared times x to get 2x to the 3. And 2x squared times 4 to get 8x to the 2. Okay. First term divided by first term. So negative 5x squared divided by x is negative 5x. And that would go above its like term if it had a like term. This is where it goes. Negative 5x. Let me see if I can make that a little bit larger. A little bit. Okay, negative 5x times x is negative 5x squared. It should be the same thing. And then these two give you negative 20x. When you subtract, it's going to turn both of those minuses to plus. So plus, plus. These cancel. And I have 20x. And bring down what? The minus 1. And then finally, first term divided by first term. So 20x divided by x just gives me 20. And then 20 times x is 20x. And 20 times 4 is 80. Distribute your minus to both terms. And negative 1 minus 80 is negative 81. So that's my remainder. Most of the answer is up here. So you have 2x squared minus 5x plus 20. And then the remainder is a negative 81. And then over your divisor, x plus 4. Okay. When you are done with that, I want you to take a look at topic 2, find all the zeros of a polynomial. So we know that a polynomial of degree 3 has how many total zeros? I heard one answer. Anybody want to agree or disagree? A polynomial of degree 3 has how many zeros? 3. It is 3. Remember, the degree equals the total number of roots? But when I graph this polynomial down here, I'm only going to see one root. That means the other two are imaginary. So I want you to grab a calculator and press y equals and put this polynomial in. Hannah, will you grab one for me too, please? Oh, actually, no, I have one on here. I forgot. All right, whatever is in your y equals, clear it out. Whatever's in your y equals, clear it out. And let's enter the polynomial for topic 2. If you don't know how to find a button for something, ask your neighbor. We're still learning the calculator. It's okay.
Wait, how do you?
Okay, on the graph we saw x equals 3 is a 0. That means x minus 3 is a factor, so we are dividing the polynomial by x minus 3. I'm going to go through the steps at a pretty normal pace. I'm not slowing down because we did these several times already. First term divided by first term, so x to the 3 over x gives me x squared. I put it above its like term right here. X squared times x is x to the 3, and x squared times negative 3 is negative 3x squared. So strangely this time everything cancels, okay? So that's 0. So since everything canceled, I'm actually going to bring down two different things. I'm going to bring down both of these. And I'm going to do first term divided by first term again. 4x divided by x, and get 4. Remember that you do need to put a plus or a minus in front of it. So since it's positive, I'm going to put a plus 4. And I'm going to put it above its like term, which is all the way over here. And I'm going to multiply. So 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times minus 3 is minus 12. They do cancel again. And that's what you expected, because I told you that it was a factor, which means that it divided evenly. Okay? But that's not what it asked me to do. It asked me to list all the zeros. So once I've done all that work, then I have to list all the zeros. I could use the quadratic formula, but actually, this problem is pretty easy because it only has x squared plus 4. So I can solve this one without the quadratic formula. I'm going to steal this space in the middle to go through how to do that real quick. It's not that hard. It's easier than quadratic formula for sure. To find the zeros, you set your polynomial equal to what number? It's 0. Good. All right, so then subtract the 4. X squared equals negative 4. And when you solve with a square root, remember to put the plus or minus in front. So I'm going to square root and then plus or minus square root. Square root of a negative number gives you what? So plus or minus. There is going to be an I, and then what's the square root of 4? 2. So it's plus or minus 2i. So my set of zeros is the one that we found from the graph, 3, positive 2i, and negative 2i. And that answers my question.